You divided up your fields into management zones. Well, Illinois crop scientist Nico identifies some pluses and some minuses.
So what we did in our work was to create, print a lot of treatments. So we created small parcels, small pieces of land where we are able to test different treatments. So we tested for nitrogen responses and responses to seed rate. So by doing this experiment, which is part of the DIFM project, we were able to identify areas of the field that respond in different ways to different inputs. In a way, what we were trying to do is to see whether that idea of putting more fertilizer or seed in certain places works or not by doing all these small plots around the field.
Now that would be really good for farmers who have a lot of precision equipment.
Yep.
And they could set their equipment for making those necessary changes that you wanted to see.
Yeah. So I think what we were able to do in this study was to check where in the field can we find these responses to these inputs. And what we found was that these responses are sometimes inconsistent. They are not consistent from one year to the other. So maybe one spot of the field will respond to the inputs, like nitrogen or seed rates, and in some other years it will change. So what we are trying to do next is to think about how to better define these zones.
Now, this looks like it dovetails into what Scott Irwin research is. The fact that July was the most important month for precipitation and temperature.
Absolutely.
And so if we don't have that, your zones will be like a checkerboard then.
Exactly. They might move from one season to the other. I think this opens some opportunities. So we might need to think about on what we normally assume about these zones. And opens opportunities in the sense that maybe if we run some of these experiments with farmers, we can come up with a better way to define these zones.
Was weather the only variable that you could see that made changes?
That was the dominant characteristic, but also topographic variables, the variation in slope, for instance, or the position, relative position in the field, and some of the soil properties also interact with the weather.